send it to her and copy the both of you. No problem.
As soon as I get them. I'd like to welcome everyone to the Clarkson Independence District Library Board of Trustees meeting for March 13th, 2023. The meeting is called to order at 6:30. Let's rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Jan Gaffney.
Here.
Allison McFadden Kiesling.
Here.
Nancy Moon.
Here.
Alan Panter.
Here.
Marilyn Pomeroy.
Here.
Maggie Sands.
Here.
Chris Schell.
Here.
Julie Meredith here.
Okay. I'll accept a motion for approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Second. It's been moved and seconded to approve the agenda. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion is carried. Call to the public.
Hello, Jim Millay from Friends Liaison. Just a couple points. We did approve the January book sale at our last meeting from what I brought up, so the holiday book sale in December will be canceled in deference to the open book sale that we'll have in January, so we'll have 3 a year. Our membership meeting, our general membership meeting is March 23rd, just for a point of reference. The de-escalation sign up, I've got Mrs. Moon, Mrs. Schul, and Mrs. Pomeroy responding. Was there anyone else that wanted to attend that? It's April 2nd.
I'm out of town.
Oh, it's okay, I just wanted
I'm
to
out of
check.
town too, I would love to.
All right, no problem. Okay. Last point, funds available, it's $30,378 so far.
Well,
And that's all, thank you.
Excellent, thank you. There are no other public issues. We will close the call to the public. The consent agenda, I'll accept a motion to accept the consent agenda.
I move that we approve it as presented.
I think Nancy noticed an error in the minutes.
yes, I did notice an error in the minutes. I was waiting to find out where that was on the agenda. I'm sorry.
It's okay, that's okay.
Right now.
Okay, I make a motion to amend the minutes from our last meeting under the adjournment section. We have nays of 8 instead of 0.
Oh.
Typo.
We had a 7
So
and
we
days
just-
of 8, we would still be meeting.
Yes.
Thank you for catching that.
Yes.
I'll second that we make that change to the minutes.
It's been moved and seconded that we correct the last agenda minutes. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion is carried.
Okay, then
So glad
I'll
we-
move that we approve the consent agenda as corrected.
Okay.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the consent agenda. Are there any of the 7 items that you wish to have a question about or consider? If not, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Consent agenda is approved. Now, let's look at library statistics.
Anything you wanted to mention about statistics since you're here? You need my statistical report?
I seem to remember that there was a large jump in one of our numbers that I thought was rather impressive. Just remember which one it was. Just a moment. And I don't know about that 1,400% increase in computer users. I have no idea what happened there. Some math, I don't know. But we did have almost 120% improvement in our wireless users and a 500% increase in our adult program participants. So that has worked out real well for the adult departments for January. This is for January.
What do you attribute that to?
We do a lot more marketing on every event we have. We've also had a lot more innovative programs. So we've been producing a lot more content and a lot better content, a lot of different content than we have in the past. So it's actually, it's all working.
Engagement,
And I think our adults like being in person again. Back in
No, but
the
that
previous
doesn't
year,
hurt.
we were doing,
Oh,
we were still
right.
doing a lot of
So
virtual
we
kinds
are
of thing. The
circling
kids
that.
loved the virtual stuff, but the adults were,
Yeah, yeah.
so,
So
yes.
we're comping.
So they're returning with a vengeance, which is good.
That's great.
Excellent. Thank you for explaining those interesting numbers.
Looks like computers are being used for taxes.
Any questions? Okay. We'll move on to the library director's report.
In February, the library board approved a project to paint the youth area. From March 20th through the 24th, this painting project will take place. Shelving and books that are normally along the walls will be moved into the youth activities room. To assure everyone's safety, books from those collections will be retrieved for patrons by library staff during this project. Signage and social media posts are already informing the public of what we hope will be a minimally inconvenient sort of situation in exchange for an exciting refresh, just in time for the school visits coming up this spring. As part of the library board's self-evaluation process, it was decided that it would be desirable to transition to an electronic format. After some review, the IT staff determined that SurveyMonkey would be the best platform based on some of the key features. The next step will be to develop a draft of the current evaluation form as a SurveyMonkey form to determine what formatting adjustments may be needed. Work is continuing on the draft of the update of the employee policy manual. We are beginning to review sections of the draft that include language that should be considered by the library board staffing committee, as some policies may have budgetary considerations. The staffing committee is currently Jan Gaffney, Allison McFadden, Kiesling, and myself. So I don't know if anyone else would like to be a part of that committee. You can think about that and let me know. In October, the library board approved the purchase of a replacement for the largest HVAC rooftop unit. The new unit has arrived and is in storage in our contractor's warehouse. They are awaiting warmer weather to do the replacement unless the current unit has issues that would indicate we should move more quickly. So.
In other words, when they're not freezing.
When it's not snowing in March.
Well, they kind of
When
said,
there's
we're
no
kind of
ice."
waiting for it to be the 60s, and they said, you know, we are going to have to probably close the building for a day if it's too cold.
Oh.
Like, oh, wait, that's a good point. Okay, all right. So, if we wait for warmer weather, we may not actually have to close.
Okay.
Once again, the library will be part of the Clarkston Area Youth Assistance's Pinwheels for Prevention project. April is Blue Pinwheel Month in Clarkston. Pinwheel Gardens spring up representing the joy of childhood and the importance of building positive relationships with caring adults that help young people feel supported and develop resilience. Last year, the library hosted one of the more than 50 gardens. This message is also spread through the distribution of bookmarks with following messages. For youth, the bookmarks are Blue Pinwheels remind me to be kind and welcoming. For teens, it's Blue Pinwheels remind me to be kind, welcoming, and stand up for others. For the community, Blue Pinwheels remind me to help youth feel safe, hopeful, and welcome throughout the community. And for all, our newest bookmark is Your Small Act of Kindness could be the one that makes a big difference to someone else. New this year, Kaya will be providing a toolkit for each elementary school that includes books and activities for teachers to use in the classroom relating to kindness. And the library is participating in this project by assisting with the book selection, which seems like a really good fit for us.
Good.
And then just as a note, I will be on vacation from March 17th through Monday, March 27th. And during my absence, Brad Reuter, who is the library's head of technical services, will be the acting library director.
Thank you.
And I've asked the staff to be nice to him. Hopefully they will comply. And not scare him or he'll never do it again.
We will do the same. Any comments or questions?
I have a question. When do we order the pinwheels?
I think they can be ordered at any time. They should be available on the website. So, or you can contact Kaya. There's a number in that little brochure. And there is a brochure, and both a brochure and a sample of the bookmark at your place.
So we can't just get them from you anymore?
Well, I suppose you can. I would be happy to set you up with a form and take care of it. No problem. I will make a note. Nancy needs a pinwheel garden. Got it.
Thank you.
No problem.
All right, on to regular business. Number 1 is a review of the electronics recycling proposal.
So CIDL is looking to create a new service for both patrons and staff for electronics recycling. Details are attached in the document, but in summary, CIDL would have a place for patrons and staff to put unwanted electronics for recycling with high-tech recycling of Pontiac. This is a service that has been successful at other libraries in the area, and it is a no-cost item. So, And Mr. Bowman is here to answer your questions. You need
If I
it?
understand it, this is so that our innovations at librarian and our,
So what you're talking about is the ability for us to actually use the stuff that's in there for
Yes.
for take-apart days. So that's one of the things, one of the advantages of doing it the way with this company is they said we are allowed to scavenge from there for programming.
Oh.
So if we wanted to, if people drop off a few computers and Neil wants to do a take-apart program, which is one of the things he's really wanted to do for a while, is do a tech take-apart day. We can get stuff out of the box, take it apart, put it back in the box. This makes everybody happy, because that high-tech
Yes.
recycling doesn't have to take it apart.
right, they don't,
So it saves
Right.
them time and money on their end too. But, yeah, they said, yeah, anything you wanna take apart, go right ahead. You know, we'll just put it back in the box when you're done, and when we come to pick it up, it'll be taken, that's what we can do. They'll be happy about it.
and they're going to recycle,
So their credo is everything they get does not go into a landfill as
Right.
much as is humanly possible. There's a few things that can't be recycled necessarily, but 90+% of everything they get is recycled. Is either upcycled by putting it into something else and sold, or it is recycled properly.
I think that's an excellent idea.
I do too.
Especially since so much of our current recycling, which apparently used to go to China, is not doing that. And so I don't know how much of all those things we're
Right.
carefully recycling are going to the appropriate.
Yeah, I often wonder that very thing, and they pick up the recycling, and I've seen them put it on the same truck they just put the garbage
Regular
on.
recycling, yeah.
And it's like-
But part of that problem is that people have a hard time properly separating the recycling, so.
Well, that's-
we-
yes.
They get, what they call it poisoned, where the recycling that you give them, it
Yeah.
has stuff that can't be recycled. And they just
Especially
can't just
at
dump it in.
Christmas, right?
Mhm.
Christmas-related things.
Well, right,
Well, a
'cause-
lot of things, there's a
Yeah.
lot of things that
Right.
we get that we think can be recycled but can't, you know.
I kind of have a two-part question.
Sure.
One is, have you talked to any other libraries or institutions who have worked with them
Absolutely.
and what kind of experience they had? And second is just a little bit of a question on the intake, because, and maybe there isn't a limit, but I know sometimes when you say, hey, we take this, that you're getting all kinds of crazy stuff that come in. And if we have a solution around that, and maybe that is just having to, throw away things that are just not appropriate because they're not really technically electronics for recycling.
So in your first part, yes, we've talked to several libraries in the area, and they've had nothing but good things to say about the company. Number one, they're prompt. They come, when we call them, they were just down in Pontiac, literally, we drove over there
Okay.
to see the facility, and it took us 15 minutes.
Oh,
So
wonderful.
that's, it's really kind of, it's a short distance for us to get there. So they'll be there within a reasonable amount of time. They say 24, maximum 48 hours.
Okay.
And the second part, what do we do with the stuff that they won't take?
Well, kind of, I'm envisioning people thinking that like something equivalent to like a child's toy is electronics when it's really.
It is, actually.
Oh.
So,
Is there anything that sort of experience of people just bringing in inappropriate sort of,
not from the other libraries, no.
Okay.
They've not said that people just come and dump garbage. No, it's,
pretty thoughtful?
so many things we use today have electronics in them that the appropriateness level is actually very, very low. There's very few things that they can bring us that they won't try to disassemble,
Terrific.
you know.
Is that also solved by the fact that it's inside the building? Is our-
Probably to some degree, I would think
I
to
mean,
some
To a
degree.
point, yeah, I mean, because so you see where I have the
picture?
picture there where I was planning on, where I was hoping to put it.
Right.
It is actually in the front lobby, which is visible to our camera system, first off, so we can see when people are dropping stuff off. There's going to be quite a bit of signage on there, what is and what is not available. But yeah, there's a lot of things that I was like, wow, they take that? Cool.
Yeah,
So
that was a
there's
pretty comprehensive list, I
Yes,
thought.
yeah. The only thing that I know of that they don't take is tube TVs, the big old
Oh, yeah.
CRT style TVs, but nobody takes those. Those are unfortunately just not recyclable.
Wow, they even take car batteries.
They even take car batteries.
I'm shocked by that.
I was surprised. I was surprised by that. So, and these
Toner cartridges.
Yep. which
All
is-
right, I'm
so-
excited about this
Yeah.
program.
You haven't seen my office. So the first one that come out, I'm telling them to bring at least 3 bins.
Because we're gonna fill them up
Because we're
that
gonna
day.
fill the first 2 up, and they can bring them back with them. So, I
You'll
tried
only
that
be
right
here
now.
15 minutes getting your first 2
Yes.
loads.
Just roll them back, you're gonna take them with you when you leave, so. And so that's gonna be, yeah, because I've got at least 5 or 6 UPS batteries, which are very similar to car batteries. So, that's the idea. I was like, yes, thump, so, and the boxes hold about 500 pounds worth of stuff. And like I said, they are very quick about coming in, and if, for example, the box gets over full, we'll just tell them to bring an extra box when they come to pick stuff up, and they'll load the stuff that didn't fit the first box.
Well, personally, I think this is a wonderful service to the community. And second of all, I know I'd asked you last time about, they have all of the environmental protection in
Mhm.
place,
Yeah,
so
they do, yep.
we can feel good about
And
that.
like I said, I've been to their facility, I didn't want to leave. Because there's just so much interesting stuff there.
Cool.
And just watching them disassemble some of the things, I was quite entertained.
That actually might be a good community field trip someday.
There you go.
And I loved the idea that we can play with the stuff.
Mhm.
I think that's just really a nice
Some people
thing.
have asked about data, what happens to data on hard drives.
I do.
Yeah, so
Yeah, that's a
they
good question.
literally take the drives out of the machines and they drill them.
Yep.
Oh.
They've got a
Okay.
drill press that one guy
Okay.
just sits there most of the day and destroys them.
So how does that jive with what this says here, that it says the Clarkson Independent District Library will not be held liable for any electronic storage that is not properly wiped or disposed? It says, remind patrons to wipe or dispose of storage that contains personal information.
Just in case, it's because we just can't be held liable, because the boxes are gonna be out in the front lobby,
Mm-hmm.
okay? Things can walk,
Yeah,
it's a thing that can happen.
people can
So
come and
they can just,
pick something.
Yeah.
and walk
like, oh,
out.
cool, walk off with
Yeah.
it. So it's just kind of a covering sort of thing where if you don't, if you don't wipe your data, we're not 100%, we're not liable for it.
Until it gets to that facility,
Yeah.
there's no guarantee it's gonna be
Okay.
destroyed.
I'm sorry, I was less concerned about the liability portion and more concerned about just the instruction here to dispose of storage that contains personal information.
But just wipe it before you bring it in.
Yeah.
Most things that people use nowadays have a very simple wipe method. Windows, you just go reset your machine. Mac, there's a very similar thing, just wipe it to the beginning. Phones all have a reset. So these all have, and if somebody has a question, they can bring it to the IT department, and wipe it.
Oh, good.
I mean, we're still not gonna be liable for what's left on it, but we can show them, this is how you're supposed to wipe a machine.
Okay.
We can show them how that works.
That's
Okay.
helpful,
Yeah.
because that gave me
Good.
pause too, Ellen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I have a couple of computers that I'd love to recycle, but I'm not confident that I could even turn it on to wipe it, so.
Fair. That's fair.
I can I agree with that.
And, but they will provide a certificate of destruction if asked and paid. So that it costs to get a certificate of destruction, but we can just.
Well, because then they have to track that exact piece
that
of
exact
equipment,
item
so,
through the whole
right,
process.
right.
So, but otherwise, like I said, I was watching a guy and literally was just drill pressing through the hard drives. You get like 4 or 5 of them in a stack, you just drill right through all 5 of them. It's really kind of fun. Like I said, I was like, I want to do that for a little while. That's really fun.
Stress relief.
Yeah.
A stress reliever.
Yeah.
After the first 8-hour shift, though, you'd be over it.
It would get old, but
It'd be fun to do like 10 of them.
you're right. Keep getting your job.
Excellent. Any more questions?
Wow, that's great.
Those were all
It says
enlightening.
batteries and it has lithium ion.
Lithium-ion.
I mean, does that include like double A's and
Yeah.
triple A?
Yep.
Okay.
And when are you starting?
That's the question.
Okay.
At this point, we're looking to start this right after the next Friends book sale.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so because we don't want to have, because
Yeah.
the Friends take up that
Right.
whole space in the front lobby.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Right.
And, even though it is on wheels, it's just we found it would be probably safest to just start right after that first
Yeah.
one.
Okay.
Unless you all want me to start earlier, and I would not be averse to that. Because like I said, they are on wheels. these wheeled carts, they fit through every standard doorway. They're only 30 inches wide, so they fit through our gates, they fit through all of my doors. So that's the idea. So if you want me to start it earlier, just let me know and I can get them on the phone and we can start it as early as you want. But our idea is to start it after the book sale.
Which is coming up. It's not that long,
Right.
not that far into the future.
Yeah, and that's a good time to kind of advertise it as well. You'll get a lot of foot traffic, so you can give people awareness around it as well.
Yeah. And I think it'll be an awesome product, for so many people, not
terrific.
just staff. Seriously, not just.
Yeah.
Although we will
I think
have-
we've all got a stack of
Yes,
electronics
we
we
do.
stare
Yeah,
at.
sure.
I mean,
Yeah.
the hardest thing for me to get rid of recently has been toner cartridges.
Yeah.
And the box. Yes. And 'cause I've got a stack of them sitting in my office.
Waiting.
We did find a place, there is a place in Clarkson that'll take them, but you gotta drive out there and go get them and drop them off and all that other stuff,
Well,
so.
it'll certainly be convenient.
Yeah, it
Oh,
will.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I'm sure like initially it's gonna be really, really heavily used and then it'll get less
Yeah.
usage probably
Just
for
more
a little while.
regular.
Right, because most of us do have those items that we don't really know what to do with,
That's
so
right.
they just kind of get parked in a corner in the basement.
Yeah.
Spring cleaning, very appropriate.
Yes.
All goes together.
Well, I just sort of see this as as it starts to taper off, this is something, either through the Clarkson Chamber, through the school system, through some of the civic organizations that are here. If we made them, on a good pace, made them aware of it, I actually think it would, you could continue to have strong usage because you reach different audiences, so that would be terrific.
And then we can start looking at traffic patterns and so that sort of thing and determine, well, during these months, we might need 2 bins.
Right.
To make it useful for us. And I mean, so 2 bins in that space.
Right
is
after the
really-
holidays when everybody gets something new.
Or like I said, spring
Yeah.
cleaning,
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
spring, you bring in 2
Right.
bins for people to throw stuff into
Okay.
or,
Good.
yeah. But and again, it's not a contract, really, it's just it's a program that they offer. And you can start and stop as you want, you can add and delete as you want. So, it's really super flexible.
Well, thank you for bringing this to us.
Excellent.
It's wonderful.
In that case, I will accept the motion.
I move that we approve the proposal to begin an electronics recycling program with high-tech recycling as presented.
I second.
Got it all down, okay. It's been moved and seconded that we approve the proposal to begin electronics recycling program with high-tech recycling as presented. If there are no more questions or comments, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion is passed. And very well presented, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
Number 2,
Okay.
strategic planning.
So I have placed in your packet this evening a request for proposal document seeking strategic planning consultants. I pulled some of this guidance from other libraries, what they have asked for, and I feel like this particular RFP is designed in such a way to allow consultants a little flexibility in what they would offer us. I didn't want it to be too specific, because to be perfectly honest, I would be interested in what different consultants are suggesting.
Yeah, well, because if you're too specific, then you really don't need a consultant. You've already done half the work already in this case. I did, before we get too far into this, I see what I think is a typo.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay, but when you're at the, on the second page, second paragraph,
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming you mean test proctoring and not text.
Oh, yes, yes, thank you.
I looked at that and I went, huh? Okay, now I know what it means.
Sorry about that. Good
It's all right.
catch.
Other than that, I thought it looked like a good proposal.
And it certainly gives them a lot of areas to cover.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting
the
because.
nice thing about something like this is they can come in with new ideas that we wouldn't thought about, that would not have occurred to us. But because all it is a proposal, they're not actually writing the strategic plan at first, then we pick and choose, and, it can be kind of a living document. We can pick out the stuff we like that they've suggested and,
Well, it's interesting because when I've talked to several libraries that have used different consultants, it's a little bit There's a lot of variance in what different consultants use as their strategy for creating this plan. Some of them, their goal is to create a very streamlined one-page document. Some of them are doing a much more detailed plan, and I wanted to see a few different proposals so our strategic planning committee can look at it and we can decide what kind of plan we want. I've looked at it and I've seen a couple things that I really like, but it's not all about what I want. It's about what we want as a board, as a library, as a staff, as a community, and I would like to see some different kinds of proposals, and so I wanted to leave it a little bit open-ended so we could really dig into that a little more and see what different consultants offer. So,
Okay, sounds good. I'll accept a motion.
I have a question.
yes.
So we have a list of potential consultants to send it to.
Yeah, I have a spreadsheet of consultant suggestions that have come from other libraries, so.
How many vendors are on that list?
Probably 6 or 8. And I don't know that all of them are, it's a slightly older list, so some of them may have retired in the last year or so. But it was from 2020 when we were going to do this the first time, so, for the last time.
Yeah. There could be some change, but that still is a reasonable number.
But that doesn't mean
for-
there won't be new ones who have since launched themselves since then, so.
Yeah. And how
So
about,
you're going to advertise it somewhere?
I'm going to start with that list and push it out to those consultants first, and then we'll put it on our website, and I'll send it out to the library listserv and other directors who have worked with consultants that maybe aren't on that list. They'll push it out to the people that they liked as well, so.
and how much time are we going to give them to respond?
I was thinking about 3 to 4 weeks. I don't want to give them too much time, but I want to give them enough time so that that we get more than just a handful.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, if you give them too much time, it gets pushed to the bottom of the pile and forgotten.
Yeah.
But if you don't give them enough time, then if their process is time-heavy, then they won't respond because
Right.
they won't have enough time to
Yep.
put together something, so.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Would someone like to make a motion?
Okay, I move that we approve the strategic planning RFP as presented with the correction of the
Thank you.
I'll second. We both did. It's okay.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the strategic planning RFP as presented with our little typo fixed. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion is carried. Thank you. And I looked at it and I said, okay, this is going to be very exciting. to work on.
It is.
Yes.
It is. It should be very exciting. Okay.
Number 3, update regarding the financial software upgrade and timelines for audit and budgets.
Okay, so I'm going to provide an update on the financial software, and I have Nicole here to help me as well. And part of the reason there's nothing specifically in your packet is because we knew that we wanted to get Melissa's up to the minute. She literally came and picked up more today. So where we are, all of the payables have been entered for 2022 and 2023 year to date. She is currently working on payroll, journal entries, and deposits. Is that correct?
Yeah,
And ACH. So I knew there was one thing in there I was missing. And then the accountant will, as she's finishing up this process, our accountant will check the reconciliations, the monthly reconciliations. We'll make sure everything matches up, and we'll try and make sure that there aren't any issues. So far, it sounds like things are going very, very smoothly. She was pretty far ahead of schedule, and then she got to the O's of the payables, which included Oxford Bank, which is our credit card bill, which is a very complicated, you hear the check signers going, ooh. So that slowed her down a little bit, so all of that extra.
Information per one, so it's a lot.
It's a big section, and so that slowed her down where she had been well ahead of schedule, and now she's probably more spot on, but she's in that home stretch, and so the goal was for her to be done by March 31st, and it sounds like she has no worries about getting to that point.
So
terrific.
everything will be all squared away prior to the audit.
Yep.
That's
Yep.
good.
Okay, so then what is the audit timeline? So our audit has traditionally been in March or April, and as long as everything gets done by March 31st, 1st, which is the plan. Nicole and I will be getting all of that going in April as planned. So we're actually not really behind. Sometimes we do it in March, sometimes we do it in April. We've done it as late as the beginning of May, but that was back when we were still a component unit of the township. So we tend to work a little bit earlier. We've done it as early as February, but then the year we did it in February, we discovered that that was almost too early. And there were a lot of things that while we started early, we ended up waiting on some things that, oh, wait, we don't have this. Oh, wait, we don't have that. And so that's too early. So March, April seems to be sort of that sweet spot.
And the auditor knows that this is all happening.
The
so-
auditor is yeah, he was very, very calm about this whole thing when I called him and said what our situation
I love
was.
an auditor.
I said, why are you so calm about this? And he said, because you keep good, clean paper records, and I know that you'll be able to tidy this up, and it shouldn't be too much of a worry. So he's been very supportive through the process. Nicole was even emailing him some questions today about tying up some loose ends. So he's already engaged in that process, even though we haven't started the audit yet. And they very kindly assigned us the same auditor we had last year, so that he will definitely have our history
That's
and
helpful.
make it a little bit
Yes.
smoother as we're going through all of this. Okay, any more questions about the audit specifically? Okay, so budget, oh, yes.
So, I don't know when's the right time to bring this up, but I
Yep.
can see that they've communicated a finding in the last few years that
Mhm.
I have some concern about.
Okay,
And I'd like to see what we can do to get that removed.
okay,
So I have some ideas about that,
okay, very good, yep,
and I just want to make sure that I kind of raise my hand and say, hey, I think we should, talk to them about this finding that they've had,
Mhm.
that I don't think they should.
okay,
It reflects poorly on us.
okay. We definitely will address that and see if we can come up with a better system for doing that.
Yep, very good.
Okay, so for budget. So usually the way we do the budget is we've divided up into some sections. So in the springtime, we usually, between April, May, and June, we start to put together the sort of the mechanics of the budget for the coming year. We talk about staffing, we look at capital improvement projects, and I work with the staff, and that's April, May, and June. And then in June and July is when the draft is coming together. July and August, we try to do it in July, it usually ends up being in August. We do our budget workshop, which is where you get together and you kind of roll up your sleeves and you really hash out all the details of the budget and make sure that it is what you want it to look like. And then August, September, we do our public hearing on the millage rate and the budget itself gets approved. The budget is a January to December fiscal year, and it does get approved in September, which in some ways is a little bit early and can be problematic, but it is the way that the attorney likes us to do that because we do have to have that millage rate approved in September by September 30th. And she likes to see the budget and the millage rate done at the same time.
They're very closely related.
Technically, well, exactly. Technically, the budget doesn't need to be completed until December 31st, but she would much rather see us do it early. We've had a couple of years when we've done the millage rate first and done the budget separately if we've had issues pulling certain things together, but September is that sort of magical time that we try to get that done. Then we set it aside. Don't think about it too much again until January. Once we get it going in January, then month by month, we keep track of it and make changes as need be. So every once in a while between September and December, I'll have a staff member come to me and say, oh, there's a project that we didn't anticipate or something that needs to be done, and maybe we need to make a budget adjustment. We don't make any budget adjustments on the upcoming year until we get into that year. It just creates confusion in the minutes about which budget we're talking about and whatever. So we write it, get it all approved in September, and then set it aside until January, and then we tackle that. So there's two committees that I would like to see. We have a staffing committee, which I mentioned a little bit earlier in my director's report. The other thing that we have is a capital improvement plan. We have in the past had a capital improvement plan committee. The last few years we haven't done that because we've been more sort of executing day to day due to the pandemic, that sort of thing. There were a lot of contracted projects we couldn't get to. We weren't writing new projects in because we were having to revisit them and plug them back in when we could get to them based on contractors and whatever. So I would like to see a capital improvement plan committee again, if there would be interest in doing that. And so that would most likely be composed of myself, and then also Arlene, who's our facilities coordinator. And she also has a maintenance plan, and we'll talk about the maintenance plan as well. But looking at everything that's in the building, our capital improvement plan is everything that's in the building, when it was installed, how old it is, its expected life expectancy. What we try to do is prioritize and plan ahead. So one of the things that I've always wanted to do is have a truly 3-year budget. We actually have a 3-year budget, but it's more, it's not published as a 3-year budget. We always have the budget that we're currently living in, the budget we're planning, and then the proposed plans for usually 1 to 2 years out, especially in terms of capital improvements. But we've never really published it as for the public as our budget as 3 years, and I would like to see us get to that point. But it's really hard. The struggle has been primarily with the staff for them to think that far ahead, and I think that we're in a good place now that I think that we can actually have those kinds of conversations and have people feel a little more confident about committing to what they think they want to do for the next couple of years, with the understanding that they're not set in stone, that those things are set in Jell-O, and that they're flexible and could be changed if needed. So,
A question on that 3-year planning.
Yes.
I like the idea of the foresight.
mm-hmm.
And I think you'll be able to convey to the staff that, this can change.
Yep.
That's easy because you see them and talk to them every day. I do wonder a little bit as residents and taxpayers start to look at a 3-year budget and how much it could be called a task if the year 3 budget doesn't actually, as it changes up, it causes confusion in the community when
Right.
we don't anticipate things. And I wonder if you have sort of watched other libraries or other institutions who have done the 3-year and what kind of success they've had.
The township has been moving to a 3-year
Okay.
planning process. So I feel like we're following along with what the
Okay.
community is already seeing and expecting with the municipalities.
Okay, good.
So I think that part is helpful. And when I'm talking about a 3-year plan, really, my goal is to make sure that we are anticipating the big ticket items and that we are specifically expressing to the community that part of the reason that we have money set aside in fund balance is for those big ticket items. They don't realize the magnitude sometimes of how expensive some of those things are. When we did the parking lot, it was a $500,000 3-year project. That's not going to come out of our operating budget. We have got to have money set aside to plan for those really big ticket items. The heating and cooling units, the big beast that we just did, $36,000. And we ordered it in October, and we were just told that it's a good thing we ordered it when we did, because that exact machine is now like $55,000.
And sometimes
So-
the fire suppression system.
And the fire suppression system, yeah. So these are the kinds of things that we want people to understand, and I always bring out that capital improvement plan when we're doing the budget so that people can see these big ticket items and understand that we've got those in the back of our minds. One of the really nice things is that as Arlene has transitioned from her previous role into this facilities coordinator, she is now coming to me and saying, wow, we need to lay this out further out. And yes, good, that's exactly what I was hoping you were going to say. She's seeing how important it is for us to really know, because there's a couple of big ticket items coming up, and we can't do these all in the same year, not just because of the money, but also because just the oversight of a project that large is challenging for the staff. So we want to be able to time them in a way that we're not doing too many big things all at the same time.
Every year, a big thing.
Yes.
Every year, yes, exactly. And then every once in a while, big things happen that are unexpected, like the car in the building and that sort of thing. So,
Yeah.
Does that make sense to everyone?
Yes.
Okay, so what you will be seeing going forward, you'll be hearing in my director's report kind of an update from 1 month to the next of sort of where we are in some of these pieces. I know I've got my staffing committee. Are you two still willing to stay on that committee?
Yeah.
Okay.
Enthusiastically.
Do I have anyone else who might be interested in that piece? No? Okay.
Well, I wouldn't mind.
Maybe? Okay, all right. So we'll add Chris to that.
Hold on.
Okay. So Jan, actually, that's really good because you're on the,
Yeah.
that employment
Right.
policy committee, and some of the things that we need to talk about are things that will have potentially a budgetary impact, so we want to get those in there as well. Okay, so we'll do that. And then For the capital improvement plan, do I have anybody that might be interested in that? You don't have, yes, okay, let's see.
You can help you on that too.
Oh, very good, thank you. All right, and if anybody else decides that they would like to do that, let me know. I can only have 3 board members on any given subcommittee so that we don't inadvertently create a quorum. These particular committees make no decisions. These are subcommittees, but what they do is review more in-depth the detail of what we're going through and make recommendations to the board based on what they're seeing. And it's very helpful for us as we're doing this to have board members sitting at the table and saying, oh no, I don't know that that's a priority, or oh no, I really think this is a priority, because you're also out in the community, you're hearing what your neighbors are saying, what your friends are saying, and the people that you're talking to, and that's important that we're not missing some of those voices. So. All right.
Okay. So at the
Excellent.
moment, I don't believe we need a motion on anything. We'll just
I don't
be
think so.
waiting for updates. At this time, I will accept a motion for adjournment.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to adjourn. How many people would like to say aye? Aye. Are there any nays? Okay. Motion is approved. We are adjourned at 7:12. That was just a typo. 8 looks like a 0 to me.
It was just, and